Headed about 160 miles south to Plains.
And that's where the Carters lived for decades. And it's where Rosalynn entered home hospice care on Friday and Jimmy entered hospice care in February. Headline News First reporter Patrick Quinn joining us now live outside Carter's home. Patrick, what is the mood like there?
Tori, it is a somber night here in Plains, and the former First Lady, Rosalynn Carter, she died here just behind me at her home with her family by her side, her house just up the road past that guard tower. And she leaves behind her 4 children, 11 grandchildren, and 14 great-grandchildren. She was 96 years old, and we drove around Plains tonight. It's dark, quiet, it's small, but the legacy of Rosalynn Carter, big and bright. She considered herself not just the First Lady, but a political partner to the former president, of course, Jimmy Carter, and her legacy really stands with her work in mental health awareness and expanding access to mental health care, as well as expanding rights for women. And we will continue to track all the stories and people she impacted here in Plains over the coming days. There will be a formal wreath laying in the coming days, as well as a family motorcade through the town of Plains, and of course, her funeral. We will bring you those stories and continue to cover her life and legacy over the following few days. Live tonight in Plains, Patrick Quinn, Atlanta News First.
Patrick, thank you for that live report. Prior to